Hello and welcome once again to another episode of From the Heart. As always, this show is brought to you by the West Virginia Library Television Network and the American Heart Association. I'm your host, Kevin Pauley, Marketing Communications Director for the American Heart Association. Well, as you know, we take heart health very seriously with the American Heart Association, and we are always looking at improving the lives of men and women in our work. But one of the other aspects that we really put a strong focus on is improving the heart health and improving the lives of children. The simple fact is, as kids learn things earlier in their lives as far as exercise and eating better, this results in better actions and better choices as they grow older. Perhaps one of the most important programs that we have with the American Heart Association, both in terms of outreach and education and also from the fundraising that goes into that life-saving work that we do, are our two great programs known as the Kids Heart Challenge and the American Heart Challenge. For many of you, they were formerly known as Jump Rope for Heart and Hoops for Heart. But these two programs are very innovative in the way that they work with children to help inspire them to make better life choices for themselves and in turn for their families. Here to talk with me more about this today is Wendy Bradley. Wendy, you are basically our guru of all things with the Youth Markets programming. So thank you for coming back. We're so glad to have you here. And I know it's a new school year, so a whole lot going on. I think really first things first, talk to us about these two programs because they have evolved from when we used to do just Jump Rope for Heart and Hoops for Heart, one. But two, there's so much that they offer for both the schools and for the children that, I mean, like it really is a wealth of things that they get. So talk to us, take us through how these programs work.
Okay, the Kids Heart Challenge we mainly do in the elementary schools.
Right.
And the American Heart Challenge we do in middle schools and high schools.
Sure.
So the difference in the two programs is back in the day when it was Jump Rope for Heart, a lot of times they would get pledges. They would get pledges that they're going to go down in their gym and they're going to jump rope and for however many hours, and then those pledges would turn into donations to the American Heart Association.
Right, that's right. I remember how that worked.
And the Hoops for Heart, they always look towards basketball games as their exercise instead of jumping rope. They get pledges, they play just the same. Well, the big difference now is with calling it the Kids Heart Challenge is it's still the same concept, except how we've turned with online donations and things like that. The kids now register, and then when they register, their families get access to a library of heart health information.
Wow.
Vaping and tobacco, blood pressure, anything that they're looking for. If it has to do with the heart and the American Heart Association has researched it, these families has access to these resources. And the same thing with the American Heart Challenge. So we get the kids to register so they have access. And then once they get in there, we ask them to do two things. Well, like I said, one is to register.
Right.
And two is to complete Finn's mission. And when they complete Finn's mission, which the main focus of our Kids Heart Challenge and American Heart Challenge is to get these kids to learn bystander or two-step CPR, which is the name of the game for us to become a nation of lifesavers. How to learn to save a life, and you don't have to be certified in CPR.
Yeah, the great thing is we've learned that, kids as young as 9 years old can actually perform hands-only CPR. And that's an amazing thing when you think about it, because, you would not think of a 9-year-old being capable of doing it. But you know what? If you teach them, and with their size at that time, they absolutely can. We've talked about so many times on this show, and we talk about it so many times in our work here in West Virginia, and you and I were even talking about this before the cameras started. There are so many areas in this state where if you were to drop of cardiac arrest and EMTs were called by calling 911, which is the first thing you're supposed to do anyway. But even still, it could take EMTs anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes to possibly an hour, depending on where you're at, before you even get help. And if you are not getting bystander CPR, if you're not getting help before they get there, odds are the outcome is not going to go well, because we know that for every minute that you're not getting help, if you go down for cardiac arrest, your chances of decreasing it decreases each minute by about 10%. So within 5 minutes, you got a 50-50 chance of making it. And if it takes someone 45 minutes to get to you, it's not going to be a good outcome. So being able to teach children is such a critical component to this, I think, because even if they're not 9, if they're smaller, you know what they can still do? They can call 911, and that in and of itself is a major help. And I know we also are talking to them about going to your neighbor, find an adult who can help you. So I think it's wonderful that this has been such an important part of this component. And, Finn's mission is something that we see kids all over the nation taking that on. And for those who don't know, Finn is a congenital heart defect survivor. He is a wonderful little human being, and he's been a huge part of our mission since he was, I think, what, 3? I mean, like,
3,
he was
yeah.
super young, and he's a little bit older now, and is doing wonderfully, by the way. But he has been a real face of this campaign, and the kids really do respond to his story because, well, he's one of them. So, you know, obviously, it's a great thing talking about CPR and all the other things you're talking about. So, what is the process, though, to like? If you have a school that wants to get involved, or you have parents who have a kid that go to school and they want to see about getting their school involved, what is the process to go down that path to get them on that challenge?
They can actually just look up Jump Rope for Heart, American Heart Association, and look up the Kids Heart Challenge, American Heart Challenge. There's a form they can fill out, there's a number they can call, and that information comes right back to me here in West Virginia, if you're a West Virginia school.
Right.
And then I take that information, call you, and give you all the particulars, and we get your school set up. So it's super, super easy. Just look up the American Heart Association, Kids Heart Challenge, American Heart Challenge.
And you can find us online. It's actually heart.org/Kids Heart Challenge. And if you go there, it will bring up everything you need for both Kids Heart Challenge and American Heart Challenge.
Correct.
Which is awesome. One-stop shopping.
Yep.
We like that.
It's easy.
You know, I think one of the questions, though, if you get involved as a school, I think a lot of times, I know a question you get asked is, how much of this is on me? Like, how much do we have to take on as a school? Right. Is this going to be like just one more thing extra that our PE teachers have to do? How does it, like, what are the benefits for the school, and how easy is it for the school to get involved?
Right, and that's a question I get all the time.
I'm sure.
All the time. And the first thing I say is, I'm like, when you do this is 100% education for the kids, 100% education for the staff, for the school, for the community. And then if they want to donate, they can from there. So when I go back and I say that, and how much will it be? I'm like, it's not that much on your plate, because if you're needing education, we know you're there for education for the kids. PE teachers is physical education. Well, you got to learn about heart health and that. So all we're doing is supplementing little exercises and little health questions and 2-minute lessons to do into your program, and then you play PE just the same.
Right.
So it's really not much more on anyone's plate. We're just supplementing the focus of heart health for a couple weeks in your schools, and the kids have an opportunity to learn get our little heart hero characters that stand for water over sugary drinks, exercise 60 minutes a day, getting your 10 hours of sleep a night, you know, things like that. So there might be that little piece in there, but really we have everything written out for you, from announcements to the lessons to everything. I come in and sit down, give you the little timeline. It's not much more on your plate, but what you open up to these families and these children with heart health information is amazing. It's life-changing.
Well, it really, and I think that's really the key thing, is the work's already done.
Yeah.
And you're not having to do any more extra work. You can supplement this material with what you're already doing.
Correct.
Like, it just goes part and parcel, which is really important, because again, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's not like, hey, here's another class you have to teach. No.
Right.
This goes right along with everything you're already doing. And I think that's a really nice thing to point out.
It is. And let me add to that. So with the American Heart Challenge, you know, we have a big focus. We know we have an epidemic in West Virginia with vaping and tobacco.
Yes.
So we have vaping and tobacco materials and lessons, and I do assemblies. I will do presentations on that. So we have this information that the teachers did not go to school for vaping and tobacco.
Right.
So let us supplement what we've already studied and have, and work alongside with you, to partner with you to make a change in the lives of these kids, who's the future of our country. They're our future. We have to invest in them.
And we also know that vaping in this state is a massive epidemic.
Absolutely.
As you said, we are the national leader in 8th graders who vape, and that is like the last thing you want to be number one in.
Right.
So I know it's so critical, the work you're doing out there. You know, and it is one of those things too, where it's a matter of, you know, you will go and do these wonderful assemblies, and that's like, you know, that's a free thing that they get. You just show up and the work's already done. All they got to do is give you the time, and you can sit there with all of their kids and talk to them about this very critical piece of information, and it really is critical.
Yeah, and with you saying it's me free coming in and doing the assemblies, it truly is. You know, to run the program, it doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
But the benefits back is this education for all, spreading the word to the community, to the families, and then in the end, if you raise a certain amount of donations, we give you an opportunity to earn U.S. game certificates back to earn free PE equipment for your school.
That's excellent.
And we also have a grant program that you can apply for a grant at the end of the year to supplement your PE equipment for a special project.
So even like being a part of this, just doing it in the school, you actually have the chance to improve your own school with regards to new gear and a potential grant. You know, and we've seen some schools in West Virginia have gotten amazing grant work done with that, like big deal stuff.
Yes.
I think some had like rock climbing wall type things.
Up to $2,500.
Which is, I mean, like that's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a school.
Budgets are cut all the time, and this is a great way to supplement the PE teachers and the school budgets while doing a good thing, while doing a service learning program and teaching others how to give back as well, which is taking care of themselves and giving back to others, which is a lesson that we all need and to be reminded of at all times.
Absolutely. I think it's that giving back aspect that really is so important. It really does show that, you know, you're helping your community. You know, I mean, people who, I mean, and I think this is really neat too, because you've talked about this. You know, every school you work in, there's someone in that school who's impacted by heart disease.
There is. I find children all the time that I call my heart heroes, and I'm like, if there's one in the room, I want to learn about you today. And then I ask the principal to contact their mother or their parents and say, can I meet them? Can we talk farther? And then I recognize those kids, and they've been through a hard journey, and to recognize them and use their stories to share with others is so critical. And then not to mention just the children, heart disease. This gets me every time. I just met a new little heart hero that had a stroke within an hour after being born. Another one that you and I filmed the other week had to be born in a heart cath lab because they immediately had to take that child into surgery. So when you hear these things, and then you even meet teachers that have had a heart attack and they've survived, or they have heart disease, or they say, I'm living with something now. It affects newborn babies, to our grandparents and then some. And we have so many students that are living with grandparents nowadays, especially in West Virginia, that understanding the warning signs of a stroke, which is what we also learn in the Kids Heart Challenge and the American Heart Challenge, learning the warning signs of a stroke, which is the letters FAST. The kids can understand that and understand to, even the little ones, call 911, go get help, or if you're older, call 911, cross your hands, push hard and fast in the center of the chest. And we can save lives. And that's what we want to do, is we want to reach out to as many people as we can. And Kevin, here's the interesting thing, is every kid that does Finn's mission, we know that not only the kid learned that, but then if mom and dad watched it, then we've multiplied that by 2. If dad watched it too, we multiplied it by 3. If grandma watched it, we multiplied it by 4 people in that 1 2-minute video. And that is so easy to do. And you couldn't understand CPR, bystander CPR, in 2 minutes.
Yeah, and really, I think that's the great thing about this, is it's not just in the school, but the kids are taking things home. And when you take things home, then suddenly that becomes something that the family does together. And that's so important when you think about, you know, it can't be just on kids by themselves to figure it out. If they have that help at home as well. And I've even heard so many stories of kids who have literally had to call 911 and perform CPR on a grandparent, on an aunt, on an uncle, on a parent. You know, and luckily, because they learned it, that person survived because that kid knew what to do. And I mean, that's huge.
It's their family. It's their mom, their dad, their grandparents, and many of our kids are just living with their grandparents. It doesn't then put them in the system. It gives them a chance to still be with family and to save that family's life, because none of us want to lose a loved one. So the Kids Heart Challenge should not feel like a burden to anyone in the schools. It should feel like it's just an extra, an added layer of education, because there's mental well-being, there's social and emotional learning. There is so much in there. It's not just the bystander CPR. There is so much, and it's all in there and all in our programs when you add one to your school. And I'm very excited to say, I recently worked with the superintendent in Jackson County Schools, and we've never been in Jackson County, and we are going to be working with Jackson County Schools in 5 schools this summer, or this fall, this school year, and I cannot wait to bring it to a whole new county who has outlying areas, who has a long response time with ambulances, and create that difference there.
It really is great to see it continue to expand, because that is really what this program is all about, is the more and more children that we reach, the more and more impact we can have. And that's what it ultimately comes down to with any of the work that we do,
Absolutely.
the more we can get out there, the better the results usually are.
Right.
You've been doing this now for a couple of years. When you look at this program, I know you put on, long hours on your car. Like you're a road warrior if ever there was one. But there's a reason why you keep getting up and doing it. There's a reason why you keep, putting those miles on the car, putting those miles on yourself.
Yeah.
What is it about this program that continues to inspire you to keep wanting to expand it, to keep adding, more to your plate in essence, when you add more schools?
There's two things, Kevin. One is the kids that I meet, these Heart Hero survivors, they didn't ask for any of this.
No.
It's just something that happened. And we're finding underlying heart diseases in kids kids are collapsing in school and things like that because we don't have a way to detect those. We need to come back and find a way to detect that, which the Heart Association is working on that every day. And the second one is, Kevin, my mom had cancer for 9 years, 3 types of cancer. And I was her caretaker. And in 2018, we were there in the hospital for a couple days getting medicine to relieve some of her pain where she couldn't have some other surgeries because she's had so much chemo and things like that. And it was time to take her home. And she collapsed in the hands of the nurses at Cabell Huntington Hospital. And if they couldn't resuscitate her right then and there, I knew it was just one of those heart attacks that there was no coming back from. But every day I wake up and I put her picture on the visor of my car and I kiss it and I say, hey, Mom, let's go today and save lives. Because I don't want any other kid, I don't want any other adult, I don't want anyone to go through losing a loved one. And if I can go out there every day and change the lives of 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, adult and parent, I will. And that's why I become the road warrior. That's why I pick up schools. That's why I do long hours, January through March, sometimes 15 hours a day with the traveling and multiple assemblies in schools. But it's because I want to make a difference.
Well, and one thing about it, you definitely are. I mean, when I look at the kids that you've introduced me to, that we do our little videos for and stuff, like they love you, man. Like, and their parents love you because you're really allowing them to share their story and to shine. And I think one of the things we've always found, with kids who are survivors, like sometimes they feel kind of like outcasts. They feel alone. And then suddenly, one of the things I've loved that I've seen from your various programs is that when the school finds out they've got a survivor there, all the kids rally behind that kid. And suddenly that kid doesn't feel alone. That kid is now like, a superstar.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a beautiful thing to see that because, man, Lord knows it's tough when you're a kid.
Right.
Like fitting in is what it's all about. That social structure is really hard.
Right.
And when you have like a scar on your chest or something that makes you feel different, and now all of a sudden you get to be the spotlight, and it's a beautiful thing to see that come around for them and to see how excited they get of sharing their story.
It's like sometimes if they don't feel good or their heart's beating too fast or they have to be careful and they have to sit out in PE, the kids are then not like, hey, well, why does she get to sit out? Why is that happening? Or they see their scar. I tell the kids, embrace it. That's your superhero scar.
It is.
Things like that. So letting them know that just because you can't see the problem, we need to uplift them. And that's why we can't judge people. We have to stand behind each other and we have to rally behind because we never know internally what that person's problem is. And there is so much heart disease out there. And another statistic that killed me, Kevin, is said in 2030, by 2035, 65% of Americans will have some form of cardiac disease. And it's like, we have to continue this with our kids. We have to start with their younger. We have to instill these little lessons of water over sugary drinks, getting 10 hours of sleep, exercising 60 minutes a day. Just little things, even teaching the kids, hey, Gatorade has as much sugar in it as a can of Coke.
Right.
It's a sports drink. It's not an everyday drink. So be careful what you drink and what you look at. Those are the little lessons we teach, but they'll learn them for a lifetime to help make a difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's really, as we talked about, you teach a kid that when they're younger, they carry that with them, and that's a big deal.
Right.
Obviously, one of the things that you've had a lot of help with in the past, you've got sponsors now who have come out to help with this program. Talk about the work that we're doing, like with Unicare and the work that they've helped you do, incorporating some of the messaging that you're doing in these schools.
Yeah, Unicare's been a great sponsor with us in the past and lately. And one of my favorite one is we did a vaping and tobacco tobacco art contest in some schools in Raleigh County. And, you know, we came together with prizes for the school and recognition.
Yeah,
but I
it was
remember,
really nice. Yeah.
I remember walking in Daniels Elementary, and they had took every poster in the school that the kids made and lined the entire gym about say no to vaping. And they had to have a heart in the picture. And I remember one picture in particular said, do not vape, you'll get crispy lungs. And I thought that was what they thought would happen, crispy lungs. But Unicare has done art contests. We have done vaping and tobacco conversations. Highmark Insurance has come in with us, and they did a huge campaign with vaping and tobacco. And it just, everybody that needs a way to get to the schools or reach the kids, we're here to assist you. We're here to help you. And again, it's another way to partner to make a difference in the lives of so many.
Well, and those partnerships, you know, that incorporates in more programming that we're able to take to the schools. It incorporated also, I mean, I know with Highmark, we did an actual television and radio campaign as well. And so we were talking about vaping all over the region, which was, again, it's a massive problem in this state. And so being able to have another ally that helps us put up the good fight, man. We'll take anybody that wants to help out. We will take you.
Talk to us. Give us a call.
We're glad to have you. So obviously, if we get a school on board, we have all the things that they take home with the kids and stuff. But what does the final outcome with the assemblies and stuff? What does that end up looking like? Because you guys do some pretty funny stuff.
Yeah, I do. I come into the schools. I do these big assemblies. I get the kids excited. I get them to tell them to register and go home and complete Finn's mission. Well, we always tie something fun around that. So kids that register, you know, or kids that complete Finn's mission, hey, you get to come back and pie the principal in the face, or you get to come back and pour, you know, water over, or slime, or duct tape the principal to the wall, or the PE teacher, or
I
the
will
coordinator.
say you've had some great sports from the PE teachers.
I've had some good ones, but we always have this big celebration where we can announce to the kids how many kids in the school learn two-step CPR, how many families watched the warning signs of the stroke, how many families watched, you know, just all the successes, how many kids registered and put these materials in their homes. So we always have a wrap-up event of something fun where the kids remember and tie a great memory around it, but we also talk about how much they did and how much life-saving skills they learned. And so we wrap it up, the fun with the learning, so learning becomes fun. So we've had air guitar contests. We've had, between the principal and the PE teacher, we've done so many things.
I remember the duct tape one in particular, because I remember seeing the pictures from that and thinking, man, that had to take a long time to get down.
Our PE teachers and our coordinators, principals, they become a sport. But they represent their school, they represent their area, and we appreciate them more than you know when they step up to the plate like that and help us represent, because the kids look up to them.
Absolutely.
And so when they step in and help, the kids understand it's something important.
Well, and again, that's someone there in the community. And that's a big part of this, is seeing the impact of this program, you know, in these, especially like in our more rural schools. You know, those schools are like the lifeblood of their community. And so to see people come in and support that, it's a really beautiful thing. And when you look at, I mean, gosh, some of these small little schools, it is amazing the fundraising they pull off, because they believe in the mission. They believe in helping others. And that's one thing I tell people all the time about West Virginia. I mean, like, we take care of our own, man. We really do. And when you see these little small schools and they're bringing in thousands of dollars for the mission, like, it's a very inspiring thing. It's a very heartwarming thing, because they really do care.
Now,
you know?
I will say that Logan County is a county that just absolutely rallies. I mean, I have tons of counties that do, but Logan County just rallies. And then when you were talking about the small schools, they have a school there that only has 98 kids.
Wow.
And last year they raised $6,000.
That's insane.
Yeah, and the year before was 12. 98 kids. So we do have these schools and we have these areas, and they have a why. They have a why that they want to make a change, and why they want to reach out. And there's so many schools out there. Those were just an example, but if I could name them all, I would sit here and name them all, and I would have a story on every one of them.
We'd be here for hours.
We'd be here all day. But there are those small schools that you just see miracles come from, and you're just so grateful.
Well, and you see so many of your wonderful little heart ambassadors too. And we're very fortunate this year. We have our second ever national heart ambassador, Ariana Chambers, and what a sweetie she is. Like, that child's gone through so much, and she has the most positive can-do attitude. Like, we just recently got
Yeah.
a story done with her with WCHS, and I have not met her in person yet. But in watching her story, all I could think of was like, man, this kid, like if you could bottle her energy like
Yeah.
into a battery, you could power the state for years. That child has so much energy.
And again, she's from Logan County.
Yep.
And she's going into 5th grade at Logan Elementary. And I met her and her mom a couple weeks ago, and she went right to my heart. I mean, I just fell in love with her, and I can't wait to spend the year with her.
Yeah.
And using her as an ambassador and taking her to schools with me to meet other people and showing this is why. Here's
Yes.
Ariana. This is why we do what we do. And I have kids all over. All those little heart heroes I
Oh,
talk
you've got
about.
so many wonderful
They stand
ones,
up in
yes.
all my schools that I'm in and using them. But Ariana, as a national ambassador, she's going to be on our information all across the
She'll be seen across the country,
organization.
yeah.
She'll be seen across the
yeah.
country. So it's those things are exciting.
Well, it's great. It's to me like what everything really comes down to is when you show the local face, right?
Absolutely.
Because like it's one thing to talk about heart disease and you see pictures and videos and stuff from all over the country, but like when you actually get to meet the person and they're here, there's someone you go to school with, there's someone you go to church with,
Yeah.
there's someone that you've done things with or
Yeah.
live right down the road from you. That makes it much more personal. And I think that's one of the things that you've had great success with is you found a way for these schools and for the students and for the teachers even to have a personal connection to the mission. That's
Correct.
really what it ultimately comes down to.
And it's these little kids that I'll sit up and I'll say, hey, like I remember the one time Jenna Reed in Barboursville, a village of
She's a
Barboursville, a
sweetie.
couple years ago. She stood up and I brought her up front and introduced her and I said, hey, did you guys know that Jenna is one of my heart heroes? And they were like, a couple of them did. And I said, do you know that she was born with a sick heart? And she's had a couple surgeries on her heart. And a couple of the kids were like, I had no idea. And so when you bring it forward and you bring it right there where they can see, then they're like, oh my gosh, she's playing just like me.
Yeah.
And I tell the kids, she is, due to the American Heart Association research, to help cure kids with sick hearts, that she can play just like you and me. And don't you think we all deserve that chance? And so it does. It really connects the kids and really them understand that you may not see it, but they're going through something inside that needs a lot of help, bigger help.
With that, I'll just say thank you for the work that you're doing, and I know you're going to have an incredible year ahead of you, Wendy, so thank you so much. Now, for those of you watching at home, if you would like to reach out to Wendy to get your school involved with the Kids Heart Challenge, we recommend you can, of course, go to the website, which is heart.org/kidsheartchallenge, all one word, or you can reach Wendy at wendy.bradley@heart.org. You can also contact me, kevin.polly@heart.org, and I'll get you in contact with Wendy. But as you can see, the Kids Heart Challenge and the American Heart Challenge are programs that are truly making a difference and helping us move the needle when it comes to heart health, starting with our very youngest. Helping keep you informed on the Library Television Network, I'm Kevin Polly. Here's wishing you good health for a happy heart, and to all of you going back to school, get involved with the Kids Heart Challenge and the American Heart Challenge. We'll see you next time.